Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Chris Hayden, I'm with Fierce, and today I'm joined by John Truesdell, Chief Business Officer at Foresight Diagnostics. Thank you for joining us today, John. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
I'd love it if you could just take a minute or two to introduce yourself to our audience.
Certainly. I've been in the diagnostics industry, primarily focused on oncology for the last decade. Previous to that, I'd been in a medical device company, Boston Scientific, in
Oh,
a
great.
variety of commercial roles. During my time in diagnostics, kind of like the formative experience for me was at Foundation Medicine, where I led the development and commercialization of their flagship product, Foundation One CDx, and was involved in a lot of partnership with biopharma companies that enable precision medicine driven trials, where it would be like a gene that informs a therapy decision. And since my time at Foundation Medicine, I've moved to a newer company. It's called Foresight Diagnostics. It's in a new, hotter part of the oncology space, I would say, called minimal residual disease, MRD. And the goal of MRD is to identify patients who you know have cancer, to find out if they still have disease after treatment or not.
Oh, wow.
And what's really exciting about this is that up until this point, most patients are evaluated with radiographic imagery, which is not precise. So they're usually a lot of anxiety waiting for that yearly scan. But with MRD, you can really dive into a molecular result that you can almost definitively say if you have the right type of test, if a patient after treatment still has disease or not. So you can either make a choice to keep treating or avoid treatment, because some treatments are prophylactic at the end of like surgery.
Right, wow. That's fascinating. Well, let's dive right into it, okay?
Yeah, certainly.
So I would love it, John, if you could just kind of set the stage for us by describing how you see the industry evolving and where your team is most focused in driving this innovation.
I think this is a continuation of my time at Foundation Medicine, is that we've seen in oncology, and this is starting to emerge in other disease areas, is really precision medicine. Precision medicine offers the opportunity to treat the patients with the right therapy at the right time, and it offers also to save the healthcare industry and economy a lot of money, because there's a lot of times where patients are given treatment when they're just not appropriate for that treatment, or miss out on the opportunity to be treated. And so the precision medicine story is really evolving continuously. There's still a limited amount of penetration of that story into clinical practice. And even with the great work of Foundation Medicine, companies such as Guardant and Natera more recently in MRD, it's still a very emerging part of the industry. And also, I think it's also maybe sometimes not viewed by the benefits it offers, say, biopharmaceutical partners, because it always seems better to be able to access all patients.
Right.
But if you use a precision medicine approach, that can take a lot of risk out of a clinical study, and also provide a much better kind of coverage and reimbursement story for therapy with a particular patient population.
Sure, sure.
And just to finish out on that, my team right now is really thinking about how to take MRD from where it's been for the last few years, is where it's been more informative, to actually being integrative into biopharmaceutical trials for clinical decision making.
Yeah, absolutely. That's important. Building on that a little bit, how do you see the MRD landscape specifically evolving, and what are some of the applications that we can expect MRD to expand into more, now that it's being used today?
Yeah, the MRD landscape is making this transition to really inform clinical decisions. So up until this point, it's been information where a physician wasn't sure what they could do with it, because it didn't offer them a new therapeutic approach based on those results. Our focus at Foresight Diagnostics, and I think where the whole industry is going, is really inform those therapeutic decisions. Again, it can be both adding additional therapy to the patient's regimen to treat disease, or withdraw therapy if they've already reached essentially a curative state. And what I was talking about at a Fierce Biotech talk earlier today was the Alpha-3 trial design, which is sponsored by Allogene. They're taking this approach to use it for large B-cell lymphoma patients, where up until this point, it's just watch and wait if they're in a PET CT remission, because it looks like they don't have disease based on radiographic imagery, but there's still about 25% of those patients that still have disease, and they don't get treated till that gets big enough to show up on PET.
Right.
And so if you can intervene right then when disease is still microscopic, you really can influence the outcomes of those patients to potentially reach a cure as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a huge step.
Yeah.
It feels to me that is a huge step. So how are you approaching utility demonstration differently than diagnostic companies historically have? And what specific initiatives are you pursuing?
I think it really comes down to partnership with the broader health products industry and specifically with the developers of therapeutics, biopharmaceutical companies, whether biotech or multinationals, and partnership with them from like phase one for biomarker discovery to see if it fits a hypothesis that actually produces a signal that helps push the drug program forward, to actually moving it to the phase where it's going to be integrative to that clinical decision making where, say, use of MRD informs whether the drug is treated, all the way to the commercial setting with biopharmaceutical companies where I think making sure a diagnostic approach is universal and accessible for patients not only in the US but globally, I think is a real critical area. And so that partnership, and it's really in a way a virtuous cycle of that relationship with biopharma companies in clinical trials and then use in the clinical market, it's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I'm going to pull out the crystal ball a little bit here. And if today you were talking to everybody as they walked out the door, if you could leave pharma and biotech leaders with one takeaway or piece of advice as they navigate today's environment, what would it be?
I think it's about leveraging these newer tools that offer better sensitivity and specificity like MRD. Again, it's about choosing the right patients at the right time. We have tools out there, and I keep mentioning PET-CT, but it was a tool. It worked, but it's a very imprecise tool,
Right.
and it exposes patients to a lot of radiation. Let's think of them and imagine a time in the future when MRD has reached that clinical development, that clinical evidence to replace PET-CT, because then you'll be able to really identify what are your next steps with those patients, whether they can go home and know they're cured, or whether they continue on with treatment, but at the same time do it in a way that's easy for the patient to evaluate where they are in their treatment regimen and not be exposed unnecessarily to risks, whether it be from PET-CT or from biopsy to gain tissue for analysis.
Yeah, and that anxiety piece that you mentioned is so critical too, I think, for patients.
Yes.
Just the wait and watch is that's going to be terrible.
Yeah, I mean, you just think about the approaches that you have this big appointment that's annually, and it's a lot of anxiety that gets built up.
Yeah.
You could do this test at home through what they call mobile phlebotomy service. You could be in the privacy of your own home at pretty much any time, assuming a prescription from a doctor, and have a blood draw and have a set of results within a few days.
It's great. It's great. Excellent. Well, John, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Yep.